Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and also Chairman Latta and Ranking Member Matsui for holding this hearing today. I also want to thank our witnesses for testifying before the committee. In Iowa, our household, businesses, farmers, and healthcare providers rely on affordable, secure, accessible internet service. The BEAD program has the potential to make significant progress towards closing the digital divide for rural states such as Iowa. However, we are soon approaching 3 years since the program was created without a single home connected yet. Now, if we had more and better connectivity, more Iowans could watch Caitlin Clark break records in the WNBA on her way to Rookie of the Year. So, Ms. Bloomfield, the NTIA's push to require states to set prices for broadband service through the BEAD program has come up a number of times. When it comes to the requirement in the IIJA for a low-cost broadband service option, what is NCTA's recommendation for how states should establish such a plan so that it also complies with the IIJA's mandate against rate regulation?
So as somebody who has 30 of my community-based providers in your congressional district, you know well how important this is. And I will also say Iowa is an example of a really well-done state program. So a number of my companies out in your state have been building thanks to what the state has had the foresight to do even before BEAD rolled out. In terms of the low-cost option, again, I think it all goes back to really doing some analysis on the ground in terms of what is affordability, not just taking a number and plugging it in. And I think, again, some states, including Montana, Virginia, and some others have done a very, very nice job on that. Again, I'm going to go back to the fact, particularly in a state like Iowa, universal service, high-cost funding, that is what is keeping the rates reasonable for your folks and for the ability to roll out initiatives like Smart Ag out there. So I keep that in mind on a parallel track.
And can you also explain the complications and impacts on provider of mandating an arbitrarily low price that is untethered to market forces?
It'll make it very difficult for smaller providers who are already struggling to make a business case to build to a very high cost, unserved area to actually make that business case to do so. So you might have some providers who will walk.
What requirements in state BEAD plans, since we were mentioning Iowa's program, might prevent your members from participating and therefore affect how much competition states see in their BEAD programs?
I think the more regulations, the more requirements that get piled on, I think the more difficult it becomes. So it's about net neutrality.
Director Giles, in your testimony, you stated that the cost of the deployment combined with a 4-year implementation period will strain Montana's ability to implement the program. You also noted that due to long winters, providers in Montana and comparable states, such as Iowa, will be lucky to have half of that time to deploy their networks. Can you explain how the lack of proactive guidance from NTIA has exacerbated this issue and others when it comes to implementation?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, as stated in my testimony, all the Western states are going to have half the time of the 4-year period to implement these funds. So I think getting ahead of the curve, and so the companies, to the points made earlier, can have those expectations, know what they're up against, buy their materials, would be helpful to just ground the program in some practicality of just sheer differences in weather. We can't change that. I mean, that's just the uniqueness we all have. So sooner the better, though. Our companies are all asking, if I do receive funding, will I have 4 years? Because that's not plausible.
Can you explain the delay from December 2023 briefly until last month before NTIA approved your plan?
We went through several rounds of curing, most of which was not substantive, and then it was pretty much dark for about 4 months, just waiting for crickets to gain approval. That's a very short summary.
Thank you very much, and thank you, and I yield, Mr. Chair.
The lady yields back.